Hafaday, Tiro, greetings to our viewing public. I'm Ed Probst, the SNILD Gaming Committee Chairman, and I now call this SNILD Committee on Gaming meeting to order at 2:20 p.m., June 15, 2022, with 6 members in attendance. We do have a quorum. At this time, I would like to introduce our members for today's meeting. To my left is our Vice Chairwoman, Reptina Sablon. To my left is Rep. Selena Babalta. And to her left is Rep. Richard Lizama. We also have on to my right Rep. Vicente Camacho. And to his right is Senator Edith Guerrero. Thank you, members, for joining us. I would also like to thank and introduce our LB, our Legislative Bureau staff today. Like to say hello to our IT on the far left. That's Jonathan Diaz and Delbert Camacho. We also have our legal counsel for today, Brendan Lade, our legislative assistant, Ms. Claire Sablon, and our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Will Ogden. Thank you all. I also want to recognize and thank Rep. BJ Atal for also joining us today, the chairman of SNILD Ways and Means. Members, at this time, I would like to request a motion to adopt today's agenda.
Second.
Ready? All in favor of adopting today's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, members. Moving forward, we have public comments. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to make public comments? Please state your full name for the record and the entity you represent. And please limit your comments, if possible, to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bart Jackson. I'm the General Manager of MP Holdings, LLC. Hafaday and Tiro, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, Honorable Delegation members. The following are comments to HLB 22-28, a proposed law that seeks to amend Saipan Local Law 22-6. Mariana's Entertainment, LLC, and MP Holdings, LLC. Collectively, the operators submit these comments and want to begin by thanking the Saipan and Northern Ireland local delegation, SNILD, for the opportunity to comment. SNILD has been very receptive to the comments and concerns of the operators throughout this process. The operators very much appreciate all the time they were given to meet with SNILD and explain now how the original law would affect them and how the proposed amendment will very much help. Electronic gaming was legalized in 2013. The operators are the only 2 companies remaining involved in the operation of electronic gaming businesses on Saipan. As with any business, the effect of taxes and license fees can be profound. For the e-gaming industry under CNMI law, the operators pay a license fee for each e-gaming machine in the amount of $2,500 per machine, or 15% of gross revenue obtained through the use of the machines, whichever is higher. This is in addition to the regular taxes and a per facility annual license fee of $100,000. Over the last 6 months or so, the operators have met with SNILD multiple times to discuss their businesses and the effect on them of Saipan Local Law 22-6. SNILD and the operators met in a public forum. SNILD has been very welcoming and has clearly wanted to understand the operators very much appreciate this. SNILD has also explained that the goal has been to raise funds for education and other purposes. The operators are members of the community and fully support the intent of the law. The amendment to Local Law 22-6 will enable the operators to continue their business. Fees will be increased, and this will benefit the community. but the increase in fees will be manageable for the operators. Without the amendment, the operators likely will close, and rather than raising more funds, there will be a loss of revenue for Saipan. The operators fully support the amendment that will raise much of the revenue that Saipan needs, but will not cost the operators their business. Section 101A, in this section, the first change is to strike out and on poker amusement machines located on the same e-gaming premises, specifically an enclosed area or resort premises as set forth in Title VI, Section 3156B. The effect of this is to apply the new law to only e-gaming machines. Poker machines are licensed separately, and the new law will be focused on e-gaming. This amendment avoids conflict with other laws and focuses the act. The second change in this section is to strike out the amount required by Commonwealth law and shall subsequently adjust to be equal to the amount addressed by Commonwealth law without further legislative action. What this deletion does is allow the new act to stand alone. Without it, other laws are incorporated. This might be contrary to the desires of SNILD. Next section, the amendment then adds a unique and progressive fee structure for fees. In subsections I through V, the license fees increase the more machines an enterprise has. The progressive fee structure means that as the businesses grow, Saipan benefits with more and more fees. The success of the businesses becomes the success of Saipan in terms of collecting more revenue. The final edition reads, the rates set above are for all of the electronic gaming machines of the business. Businesses that grow and have more machines and move into a higher tier will pay a higher license fee for all of their machines at the higher tier rate. Should a business contract and move down a tier, the rates applicable to the machines of that business will also decrease to the rate set for the lower tier. This progressive fee structure is forward-thinking by SNILD. It recognizes that there can be changes to the economy, both good and bad. As the economy grows and businesses expand, fees will go up. When the economy contracts, such as after a severe typhoon or another pandemic, fees go down in proportion to the reduction of machines of the businesses. This is a very fair fee structure. The amendment is a well-thought-out bill. It will save the e-gaming industry. It will bring in more revenue for Saipan. The amendment is the product of private businesses and the government putting their heads together to solve a problem. The operators fully support passage of the amendment. Respectfully yours. And if I might add briefly, I have now had an opportunity to read the AG's opinion on the amendment, and we do not object to their recommendation at all. So we're satisfied to move forward with the AG's recommendation as presented in their opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I'm sorry, I recognize Vice Chair Tina Sablon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Mr. Jackson, to the SNILD committee meeting. I wanted to ask for some clarification whether the operators have any server-based or server-supported gaming, and do you pay license fees? If so, do you pay license fees associated at the server level, or is that per machine?
We don't, if I understand what exactly you mean, we don't have, all of the machines are self-standing or work together in concert.
Okay.
They're not in communication with online with any other machines.
Okay, thank you. And I understand that you have provided some financial data to the court in the pending litigation and also to this body, but it has been some time. So do you have any updated data in terms of what you pay, what the operators are paying now at the Commonwealth level per machine on average?
I'm sure we have it at the business. I don't have it with me today.
Okay. Okay. So it's $2,500 or 15% of net gaming revenue. And I believe that it was earlier disclosed to the court and through data obtained from finance that comes out to, on average, about $6,000 to $8,500 per machine currently. or at least as of the last time that we
If
received
I
this
may,
data.
Vice Chair, would you like to move to Committee of the Whole to discuss this, or is there several other questions?
Um, I mean, we can.
I think that would
Sure.
probably be more appropriate. I apologize, Mr. Jackson. Would that be okay with you, sir? Members, is that okay?
No objection.
Before we even move to that, first I want to thank you for your public comments, Mr. Jackson. You could have a seat, and to see if there's any other public comments. If there are none, if we'll have the Sergeant at Arms, please bring Mr. Jackson up to to join us. Thank you. At this point, we will move to the Committee of the Whole with no objections. Okay, we shall proceed. Mr. Jackson, are you ready, sir? Okay. Vice, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I don't know that this question will take that much time to answer, but I guess I just wanted an update since the last time you provided financials to this body and to the court, if there are any changes in the fees that you pay on average per machine currently, not at the local rate, which has not been really enforced yet, right?
Right, right. Again, this is now, so here we are, June. And so we've had the first 5 months of the year. And so in many cases, depending upon the license fee, we're still working, depending upon the license date, we still work through the 2,500 versus the 15%. So at this point in time, it's not appreciably different than what it was in 2021.
Okay.
Of course, the second half of 2021 was better than the first half. We went from limited operating hours as the government opened up some of the restrictions relative to the pandemic. So the second half of the year was better than the first half, and I think that 2022 is similar to the second half of 2021. So not appreciably different.
Okay, and if I'm understanding the current situation with in light of the litigation, which is still pending in court, you have continued to pay, the operators have continued to pay the CNMI license fees, but not the local license fees assessed by Saipan Local Law 226.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Members, do you have questions? I'd like to recognize Senator Edith Guerrero, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Jackson,
Thank you.
and your legal counsel. Thank you. Let me start off with, you had mentioned there is $100,000 annual license fee. And based on your letter commenting on House Local Bill 2228, it talks about Mariana's Entertainment LLC and MP Holdings LLC, parentheses, collectively the operators. Is the $100,000 collectively paid by both entities, or are they separately paying $100,000 each, considering they're both different business names? I would think that they are also registered differently, meaning here on Saipan at the registrar's office, holding separate business licenses.
Yes, the 100,000 is by venue. And so we have two venues, the Saipan Vegas, which is Middle Road, and Club 88, which is in Garapan, in the lobby of the Ocean View Hotel.
Okay, so two separate venues, and would that equal 200,000?
Yes, ma'am.
100,000 each. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you for that clarification. Looking back in time, I picked up some articles regarding TRO dated August 13, 2021. And in that article, it mentions a total of 190 e-gaming machines in both arcades are operational. Is that the same standing number today as we speak?
No, ma'am. As of this morning, we have 154 machines in operation.
And for each location, please?
Okay. Hold on, I was sent this morning. I knew someone was going to ask, and so, hold on. I did ask this morning. Saipan Vegas has 96 machines. Oh, my math is bad. 156. The 96 machines, and Club 88 has 60 machines.
Okay. Saipan Vegas and Club 88. Okay. All right, thank you for that. Let's move on to my other questions. Is there any business affiliation with the two entities with Bridge Capital LLC? The reason why I bring up the question is because back in June 19, 2015, there was an article that came out on the local papers, Bridge Capital's Baldwin under criminal tax probe and Laos for bribery. Is there any affiliation with Bridge Capital LLC and the principals of both entities?
They have the same owners. They are separate corporate entities. So there is no official affiliation between Bridge Capital and MP Holdings and Mariana's Entertainment. There is, however, they do, however, have the same ownership.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, let's move on to, I know that Representative Tina had asked a question about per server, and you had mentioned that they stand alone and they're not connected to anything out there in the World Wide Web. So if I may ask briefly to kind of like walk us through of how is this payment of course, 25, whatever that amount of money that you pay on a monthly basis on the fee, and subsequently, if the 15%, I'm reading off Public Law 18-30, the net gaming proceeds imposed under this section is greater than the license fee per machine and per server, that the fee shall be paid on the 15th day following the close of each month. I understand you probably file all of that with revenue and tax.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that you could share with the committee with respect to those particular reportings of revenues? And the reason why I'm asking the question, because I want to make sure that there's no leakage in terms of could there be a possible, a shortage of collection and moving into the enforcement level at the state level, which is the semi-government revenue and tax, to make sure that operators are held to those particular standards of collections, and that monies that are due the Commonwealth are rightfully collected, and that we are not, losing it on the back end.
Each machine has its own computer guts, if you will, for lack of a technical term, and each computer, each game, each machine keeps track of itself, what it's doing, how much money comes in, how much money goes out, how much money is kept, and so on a daily basis, those amounts are compiled for the purposes of the 2,500 versus 15%. Once a machine reaches about 16,000, somewhere between 16 and 17,000, it meets the 2,500 threshold. And at that point, the calculation is 15%, because the 2,500 has been absorbed. It's now more than 2,500. It's purely on the basis of the 15%. And so on the 15th of every month, there's an exhaustive form submitted to the tax authority, which records by machine how much play there was and how much payout there was, and the net, which would determines what the 15% is. So this is done. It's a very long page after page after page. You can imagine at one point we had 190 machines. Now, even at 156 machines, there are 156 line items of play identified by machine, by location, which is submitted to the tax authority. And then, and so we do that calculation ourselves every day and compile every day and submit as required to the tax authority. And the tax authority is free to audit and check and do whatever they want to do relative to the accounting of the collections. So that's basically how that system works.
Mhm.
And you know, if you were to see one of the forms, it's really, you know, it's in some cases it's 5 or 6 pages of lists listing every machine. Every machine has its own license. Every machine has its own number. Every machine has its own play. Now they're not connected, but they're all one-offs. And so all of that information is prepared and presented to the tax authority on a monthly basis.
Okay. I really appreciate that. And in any business, obviously, there's always a statement of financial, right, reports, balance sheet, and things like that. If I may ask, Council, you can chime in. Is that something that maybe the latest information can be shared with the committee? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I want to move on to my other question with respect to the enforcement level of the state government. When was the last time that revenue and tax came into audit the machines?
I have to check the operations manager.
Okay. Yeah,
If I may
Go
help,
ahead.
I don't know if this helps or not, but this is kind of an unusual system because it's this 2,500 or 15%, whichever is higher.
Mhm.
So I think in practical terms, how it works is these machines have a renewal on an annual basis. When they come up for renewal, the company pays the 2,500. So it's like an advance
Mhm.
payment on the license fee for the year.
Against the revenue, right?
Then the machine starts making money because people are playing at the machine. At a certain point of time, the particular machine exceeds 16,500. Once that's kind of like a magic number. It's not exactly the right number. It's 16,575. Once it exceeds that magic number, it has now the 15% now exceeds $2,500. So once it hits that magic number, then on a monthly basis, the company starts paying the 15% for the machine. And some machines get to the magic number quicker than others because they're more popular.
Mhm.
But once the machine hits the magic number, then they start paying the 15%.
Some never get to the number. Some never get to the number. In
I
which
guess
case,
players want to be lucky with their lucky machine, right? They say it's
that's right.
hot. That's what I hear.
I'm not a player. I'm a
Neither am
manager.
I.
But yes, there are some machines that never get to that number, and so the 2,500 is the fee for the year.
And I think it's similar in a way to a poker machine, which maybe I'm more familiar with poker machines in a way that record everything, and so revenue and tax, or they can go in and they can read the machine, and so they can see what the machine has earned,
Mhm.
and it's all basically secure, so that nobody else can touch it. If the company touches it, if a technician touches it, that shows up in the report. And so anytime revenue and tax can come in and read the machines.
And so that any time to come in and read the machines is unannounced.
I believe so.
I believe so too.
Okay, we're going to look into that.
Yes.
And this magic number, hypothetically, we're throwing out a number 16,500, let's just say.
Yeah.
It's just something internally decided by the company as a magic number. There's
No,
really
no,
no
ma'am.
standing statute.
No, that's the calculation of the 2,500 versus
I see.
15%.
Okay.
Right. So
All right.
Right.
it's just mathematical.
Right.
If the
Okay.
machine makes $1, then the 15 cents is
Okay.
a tax, right? But the minimum is $2,500.
I
So
got
it
you.
has to get to 16,500 and something before it has now.
All right,
Yeah.
exceed, okay,
Yeah.
reach that point. I got you. Okay, now, council, you're sitting right there. I'm gonna ask a very tough question here. I know that businesses pay their monthly BGRT, correct?
Yes.
And the ceiling of the tax rate is 5%.
The
Is that-
BGT. Yes. Yes.
Is it safe to say that that's where both entities are sitting at on
Okay.
a monthly basis,
Um,
at that 5% threshold?
Well, okay. These companies pay different taxes. One tax they pay is the 5% BGRT.
Mhm.
That's on top of what we're talking about. So you're paying per machine $2,500 or 15%, whichever is higher, plus 5% on the gross revenue for the whole business, plus the $100,000 per venue.
So you are hitting that ceiling of 5%,
Yes.
whatever the amount is on a monthly basis over.
You're
You're,
if the company makes $100,000 that month, it's going to pay, my math is so bad, 50.
don't worry, I have the tables here.
Five-
I just asked a very general
5,000.
question,
Yeah.
just to have a gauge of where the company stands, or both entities.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
respect to the
I don't
tax
know the
collection.
financials of the companies, but yes, you have to pay the 5%.
I mean, for example, for December, if a company's making 750,000 and over, you hit a 5%, right? Which is on the BGRT. If 62,500 on January and over, you're also going to be paying 5%.
Yeah, it's the same tax
Right.
table. Yes.
Okay. If I may continue, Mr. Chair, or anybody can cut me off. Anybody? Okay. Way back during all the TRO and the disagreement of the passage of stipend local law 22-6, I do understand that some of the employees also, signed a petition regarding concerns about losing their jobs. So my question is, during all that time period to date, has there been anybody laid off at the passage of stipend local law 22-6?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes,
And have those employees been recalled back by the company?
yes, they have.
Okay. And how many of them?
There were a handful, fewer than 10, mostly related to the golf course and possibly some ancillary services. The company runs the golf course, which is kind of a loss leader. And so to cut costs, as we were expecting to have much larger fees,
Mhm.
as we did the calculation, it didn't make sense to continue full force. And so we did lay off some employees. Subsequently, we filed the TRO,
Right.
and we were able to work out a delay of the implementation of the law as we worked with the legislature to try and come to an accommodation. And because the law was delayed, we were able to continue forward and relicense those machines that had expired. So there was a period of time, as throughout the year, machines run through their license. It's a rolling license period. So we have 156 machines. In every month, some of those machines expire. And in anticipation of the larger tax, we did not renew a number of machines. At one point, I think there were as many as 50 machines that were not renewed. And when we were able to work with the Department of Finance to delay the tax, we went ahead and renewed all of the machines. Some we didn't renew. We reevaluated their ability to generate interest and revenue, and so it's not exactly as many as there were in the beginning, but we were able to normalize enough that those individuals who were laid off were rehired.
Okay. All right. So it's safe to say that the number of employees that were laid off are back on the job,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that they're
Yes,
earning a
ma'am.
living. Great. Thank you. Let's talk about individuals that play the machines. What is the, can you share with us the process of your reporting of those winnings? Do you report those to revenue and tax? Do you keep a particular internal bookkeeping of the winners, and making sure that obviously our interest here would be that they are also reporting their income, and then they are paying their state taxes?
Yeah, but by law, it's by order of magnitude.
Mhm.
So if you come in and you win $100, $200, $500, there's no reporting, there's no record. Once you reach the threshold, and I think the threshold is 1,200. I think the threshold is 1,200. If you win 1,200 or more, then there is a record of it. And we have to fill out a form. There's actually a tax form that we fill out. And if it's a resident, that's all we do is fill out a tax form. If it's a visitor, then we'll go ahead and withhold 30%, I believe 30% of that amount. But anything below the threshold is not monitored or recorded, other than, of course, in the machine, but that doesn't record the specific individual, only that there was a payout of $50 or $100.
Okay, so you mentioned a 30% withholding of a non-resident.
Yes.
What happens to that 30% withholding? Where does it go to?
I'm assuming we file it and it goes to the tax authority.
Okay, do you file that?
If that's the law, that's what we do. Yes, ma'am.
And you've been doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield for now. I'm going to review my questions. My other questions, other members can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other members? We're good. Okay. Moving on. We move to old business. There is none. I'm sorry, before I even move to old business, if we are, could we, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Dotz, you may have a seat. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Moving to old business, there is none. Moving to new business, we have House Local Bill 2228 to amend Saipan Local Law 22-6, Section 10A, to restructure the local license fee imposed on all electronic gaming devices as defined in Title 6, Section 3154A4, located within the 3rd Senatorial District. Discussion? Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon again, colleagues. I do appreciate the comments that have been shared with this committee by both the MP Holdings operators as well as the Attorney General. And as we know, there is still pending litigation in Superior Court. I understand the court has not issued any ruling yet on the injunction, and that Finance has also agreed not to enforce Saipan Local Law 22-6 while this litigation is pending. I do recognize that there is this expectation that the parties involved can settle this matter out of court with a legislative solution. And I do share that view as well, and believe that we can reach a resolution that will both accomplish the goal of raising revenue for the 3rd Senatorial District without unduly burdening the e-gaming operators on Saipan. And I do, however, want to take a look at the specific amendments that are being proposed in the original legislation, and as well as by the Attorney General. And again, I guess in the spirit of compromise, I wanted to first suggest that we incorporate in this bill the specific comments that the Attorney General recommended for the language in section 2. And I think that the language that the Attorney General suggests would provide greater clarity as to how these local license fees should be assessed. I would further like to propose, colleagues, that we actually do away with the tiered fee structure and assess just a flat license fee, which would provide some consistency for the delegation in terms of projecting revenues, simplicity as well as consistency in terms of projecting the revenues that would be available for appropriation, and also be easier and simpler to administer from finances standpoint. So currently, as we understand it, the operators pay the either $2,500 per machine for the CNMI fee, or 15% of net gaming revenues per machine, and whichever is greater. And according to the data that was submitted to the court by MP Holdings and was disclosed in court filings, on average, they pay $8,500 per machine. So under the current law, the effect of that has been to double, they would pay double that per machine. So an average of $17,000 per machine if the current law remains in effect. And I would like to propose that we not consider a tiered structure, which could also create potential for loopholes and ambiguity, and instead have a flat license fee of just $2,500, which would be on top of the fee that the operators are paying now at the CNMI level. And then we can remove the references to the tiered structure that are in the findings and on page 3 of the legislation in section 2. So that would be the language that I'd propose. I have asked council to draft the language, and I understand that other members here may have amendments to propose at this time. So I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We are still under discussion. Other members? No comments? Short recess, please. Okay, and we are back. Thank you for your patience. We were on recess and working on amendments. At this time, I'd like to recognize the Vice Chair, Rep. Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, colleagues, for your patience as we worked on amendments to this bill. At this time, before I offer the substitute legislation, I'd like to make a motion to amend our agenda to reflect that we are entertaining House Local Bill 2228, Substitute 1. I so move.
There's a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And at this time, I'd like to offer House Local Bill 2228 S1, which reflects changes that we discussed and agreed on during the recess and prior to today's meeting. I'll go ahead and read into the record the amendments that are being made, starting with the description of the bill. The title of the bill is this is a local bill for an act for the 3rd Senatorial District to amend Saipan Local Law 226, Section 101A, to restructure the local license fee imposed on all poker and electronic gaming devices as defined in Title 6, Section 3154A3 and 4, and 6 CMC, Section 3156B, located within the 3rd Senatorial District. The next amendment in the substitute bill is to the findings and purpose. In the first paragraph, starting in line 2, the purpose of this act is to amend Saipan Local Law 22-6. The delegation finds that by structuring the license fee as a flat fee, the collection of more revenue without overburdening the e-gaming business is possible. The next amendment is in section 2 of the bill, starting on page 2, line 3. So it should read the local license fees for gaming devices. And the new language reflects the recommendations from the Attorney General. And it should read, local license fees for electronic gaming devices, there is hereby imposed pursuant to 1 CMC, Section 1402C4, an annual local license fee on all poker amusement machines, electronic gaming machines, or electronic table games as defined in 6 CMC, Section 3154A3 to 4, and also on such machines and games situated in a hotel pursuant to 6 CMC, Section 3156B, within the 3rd Senatorial District, equal to $2,000 per machine. And this is the flat rate that we have agreed upon. And again, just for clarity, this is the local license fee that would be imposed on each machine on top of the fees that the operators are paying by Commonwealth law. The next amendment, colleagues, is in section 3 for, and that should be titled Assessment. And that reads, upon enactment, retroactive payment shall be assessed for license fees that would have accrued from the date of enactment of Saipan Local Law 22-6 to the date of enactment of this bill at the rate provided for in this legislation. And the remainder of the bill on severability and the savings clause and the effective date, that is unchanged from the original bill. Thank you, and I so move.
Recognize Representative Babauta.
So just for clarity, does do the amendments to the local license fee for gaming devices that we are proposing now for $2,000 per machine, does that then in effect change the current fee for poker machines to from 6,000 to 2,000? That
No.
was not clear to me, so.
Oh yeah, thank you for asking that. This would have this really just applies to gaming devices, whether they're poker gaming machines or electronic table games or electronic table gaming devices within the electronic gaming facilities. This doesn't. The poker operators are assessed fees at a different rate in a different part of the law. But perhaps, Mr. Chairman, we could also have our counsel address that.
Council, would you please? Short recess. We are back from recess. And council, if you may.
So for purposes of Commonwealth-wide licensing fees pursuant to 4 CMC Section 1503 A5 and 6, there's an annual fee of $6,000 for pachinko slot machines, and a separate fee of $2,500 per machine, or 15% of net gaming proceeds, whichever is greater, for poker, e-gaming, and electronic table games. And again, that's the Commonwealth-wide fee. And so when SLL 22-6 was drafted, that Commonwealth-wide fee structure was used as a drafting model, but this delegation-specific SIPEN-only fee within the 3rd Senatorial District applies identically to poker games and to other electronic gaming machines at a flat rate of $2,000 per machine. So this isn't amending the Commonwealth-wide
Okay,
applicable fee structure.
thank you, council. So clarified.
Thank you, council. Thank you, Rep. Are we ready? Any other comments? We're still in discussion. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. So, all in favor of this? One second. All in favor of the House Local Bill 2228 Substitute 1, uh, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The substitute carries. Sorry, the motion carries, correct. Moving forward. Um,
Privilege, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, state your privilege.
So to clarify by this motion, we are accepting as a committee the amended or the substitute version of House Local Bill 2228 and recommending for passage by the full delegation.
That is correct. Thank you for the
And-
clarification.
And if we could further request that the legislative assistant work with council in the drafting of the committee report on this substitute bill.
Thank you. Noted, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sablon, for your assistance with this. Okay, so that takes care of this bill for new business. At this point, moving forward to miscellaneous. Anything for miscellaneous? Nothing? Any announcements? No announcements. Motion for adjournment? Motion has been accepted. All those in favor of getting out of here, say aye. All opposed, you can stay. All right. Thank you very much.